I was just following your lead.
Welcome to Dental Unscripted, where Mike Dinzio and Paula Quinn break down the practice ownership journey, one episode at a time. Starting up, buying, and running a successful dental practice.
What up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dental Unscripted. It is podcast day for Paula and Michael, and we are here, and it's a beautiful day, and we're talking about all things leadership, and it's just Michael and Paula, if that's not good enough for you. So good morning, Paula. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I had some cool other podcasts today, and it got the juices flowing. I think there's some really cool content that you all should check out. I don't know when this is going to post or publish, but we had some good conversations today.
Yeah.
But today, we're going to just talk about something that I think probably needs to be on repeat, and it's just leadership. And I think Paula and I are in the trenches every single day on this topic with our clients. And it's one thing just taking on the stress and the weight of ownership in general, the taxes and the state requirements and the W-2s and the gustos and the payroll and employees, and then there's the dentistry. Got to be good at dentistry, but just all of that, and trying to find ways to sharpen your axe or your tools on leadership really is going to help you throughout your journey of ownership. You can't just be a owner and not be okay at leadership. You might not be great at leadership, but you got to try to improve and be better over time, and you will. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So Paula, when it comes to just leadership stuff, we're going to get into some tactical things later here, or some stuff, but what do you see out there in leadership? I mean, you're on the practice management side so much, a lot more than I am even. What are you seeing out there as far as just our younger owners, doctors, and owning practices, and what are you seeing?
Yeah, great question. It's funny because this comes up on occasion when I'm talking to dentists, especially when they're frustrated with managing team or being the leader. And it's kind of funny. And I probably said this before on the show. I don't know. I say it so much, but gone are the days of just popping up a dental practice on the corner, having the loyal patients, even employees, because you're the only dental office in town or one of three. If you want to be in dentistry, this is where you're going to work. You stay a lifetime or however long. Those days have changed, both from a patient perspective and from an employee perspective. So dentists have had to morph into actual business owners, not just dentists. So unfortunately, they don't teach leadership, marketing, or management or business in dental school. And it's a huge miss, and they should probably consider it because you probably always should have been. Maybe you were a little organically, didn't even know it, but you need to know marketing. You need to know management. You need to know leadership, and you need to have business skills to really run a practice these days. You can't rely on Betty Joe for the next 40 years to run your business,
Totally.
what we've done in the past. And no offense to Betty Joe, but she didn't go to school for any of that either. And she's got your practice in the palm of her hand. She's the first touch, the last touch. She's managing your money. She's paying your bills sometimes. She's your HR person. And you're just relying on this gal who learned it off the street or the predecessor before her. And then you're mad when you don't get the return on your investment when you go to sell, or even a month-to-month basis.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to check out anymore if you really, really want to run your business. So what I'm seeing is, always and still today, I just want to do dentistry. Why can't my front office or my hygienist or my assistant just do this?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's more awareness now, which is what makes it different. I think bills are higher. I think team wages are higher. I think, student loan debt is higher. I think, especially if you acquire startup, purchase a practice, the per square footage is more, all of that is more.
Yeah.
You can't just
hang a shingle. You can't just hang a shingle.
Yeah. And
I want to ask you like a follow-up though on that. It's like you've been in the industry for 35 years ish. And you tell me about stories of like going into work and just what it was like back then. And I think people need to hear that to play into what you're saying here. Is it just used to be totally different. So paint that picture first of all, but then second of all,
you're talking about my dentist who.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Just go to the stories. And then I also want you though to like bring it back to, did you have an employer working in all those years that did hold you accountable and that was a decent leader, and how much better maybe you were, or can you think of that? Because I can think of that in my career, but like in dentistry,
my ex-husband.
Oh boy, let's talk about Jerry Burns. Well, like, why don't you pull it all in together, like where we started and where we're at now, like.
Yeah. So it was, and I think the difference too is it was a job back then. I learned on the job dentistry. My first dentist I worked for, he was a smoker. He didn't wear gloves, mask. He didn't have to. It was before AIDS. It wasn't a thing, which was weird. It's weird now to me. But he would smoke. He had a pack of cigarettes in his front pocket. He'd go in his office, smoke. When I would go to get him, he'd put his cigarette on the side of his desk, still fuming, still lit, and come in and numb the patient or what have you. And then I hoped he washed his hands. I don't really remember. I got to be honest with you. I'm thinking he probably did at least wash his hands.
Yeah.
But then go back and smoke. So not only did the building have someone smoking inside of it.
That's weird. That's so weird.
That didn't wear gloves or a mask.
It's one thing not smoking in a restaurant and thinking, oh, that's weird. No one's smoking in a restaurant, but it's a whole nother conversation when it comes to dentists.
Had patience and lots of patience. We were always busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you did that today, no one would come to you.
Oh God, you get judged out of the practice if you're smoking behind doors on your lunch break. Like,
but it also was like there were no numbers, there were no morning huddles.
Auditing the schedule.
No, you just clocked in, saw your patients, said goodbye for the day.
And so many doctors still operate just like that today. We walk in them as practice consultants, which is actually surprising, but
not
the same.
wearing PPE these days.
Wearing masks and gloves. Yes. Sorry. I thought that was assumed, but the way those offices were ran back then 35 years ago and how offices are being ran today. Yeah, that still exists. And those people are bitching about all the things that they can't control. They're bitching about Delta Dental and cancellations and Gen Z and my marketing's not working. And they're just constant complaining because they're running the business the same as that guy was for you, Paula, 30 years ago, just clocking and clocking out, expecting different results. But you as a team member, you just said it shifted when you and Jerry, your ex, bought your first practice. Is that where you were going with this, with leaders and expectations?
No, just he is a leader, in general, that era. And let's see, he graduated in 1998. It may have been before then, but I was in hygiene school then. So my I worked in a couple other offices, and I would say they kind of ran the same. Right before I went to hygiene school, I was in a front deskless practice. So that was a little bit cutting edge, where we didn't have a front office, and we took, as dental assistants, took our patients beginning to end. There were probably more, well, there were definitely, he did wear gloves, he didn't smoke, and there were more expectations, but still didn't know the numbers, still didn't do morning huddles, still, so it was about, whether it was the era or my ex as a business owner, where there was a shift, and it was continuing education. It was morning huddles. Now, I will say the caveat is we did pay for a consultant.
You guys paid for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we paid for a lot of continuing education, consultants, things to always better ourselves. We were a groupie on a couple of,
forums,
podcast and Facebook groups and things. So we were very prepared for ownership. Not over prepared like they are today, but prepared.
Yeah.
Not prepared. You're never prepared, but there were some things that were like, wow, that's a great idea. So where I saw it shift was just being intentional in your day, whether it's a morning huddle, whether it's auditing your schedule, whether it's setting goals and expectations with team members. But the whole thing around it is intentionality. You're making your day happen proactive rather than your day happening to you reactive. And that's when it changed. And I'll give Jerry some kudos. Obviously, he's a great dentist and a great business owner, but I don't know if it was, us together. I don't know if it was the things we listened to. I don't know if it was just that era of people, because you do evolve as each generation evolves. And so I don't know exactly what it was, but I do know that, and we are obviously going into ownership. So shifting from team member to owner is also, as a caveat in there. But what I'm saying is the shift is now you have to be intentional, and you have to plan and make anything happen that you want to happen. You have to have a plan around it. You can't just trip over it.
Well, I mean, with that being said, leadership is something that you kind of don't just trip over.
No.
In my mind, it is all about intentionality and having maybe structure or a plan, or a strategy.
All of it. Yeah.
All of that. And, when I think about like trying to get performance out of someone, I start with, okay. And it was actually somewhat of a consultant to me and you as business owners, is like, you wake up one day and you're like, shit, this isn't working. I need better out of something. And when someone challenges you, is like, well, were the expectations set? Do they understand their role?
You're like, yeah, no.
And then on top of that, do they have a system? And without any of that, you can't expect what you're expecting better. You can't expect better out of someone if you don't have some structure, some systems, how do you hold someone accountable if they don't even know what the hell they're supposed to do or what the training should be like? So guess what I'm saying is, folks, stop like just expecting things to be different. Okay. Just
Well,
stop.
I even like what Cisco said on another podcast, and it was about marketing and stuff, but it's the expectations. It's taking the money, what you're paying, everything, and waterfalling backward to set your expectations first. You love the quote or the thing by Gary Vaynerchuk,
Chuck.
and it's about the hourly wage the hourly per hour person. So I think setting your culture and your own expectations start first, because you're thinking, and I kind of joked even on the last one, or no, it was earlier on this one. Geez, I'm losing my mind. Betty Joe is 18 to, let's even say 30 an hour. She is running a minimum 500,000, most practices, right? But up to a $2 million
$2 million business, a
business. And you're mad when it doesn't perform the way you want it to. Only you, as the owner, are going to care more than anyone in the world. So you have to design what you want. And if we have the 80-20 rule, right? If 80% of that happens, you're going to be more successful than any of your colleagues. And I think it starts with, what do we throw vision around, we joke about this, we've talked before. What do you want your culture to look like? What do you want your business to look like? What is your business plan in 1 year, 5 year, 10 year? Now you design around that. Does this person fit in my vision? Am I going to get to my million or my second practice with this person on my team? So I again, it's that strategy or intentionality, whatever you want to call it. But I would say I would start with culture. What do you want that to look like? That's part of your vision.
So we do an exercise, and it's all about, which I think is the foundation, the foundation. It's a perfect word for it, for culture, and it's agreements. That's the first thing that we do in almost every single one of our team meetings when we first sign a client, is really just identifying what you guys, team, doctor, it's not us, not Paul and I, but what you guys want to be for the practice, who you want to be. So that is kind of the first step, is agreeing to be something, meaning I'm agreeing to the team, and I want the team to have great attitude, have impeccable being open for training, mindset, having good mindset, having safety in conflict, having open communication, having whatever it is. Okay. That is who you guys are going to be. And without defining, and I want to say that a couple times in a row here, so that sticks, without defining what you're trying to fix, you can't just expect the fix to happen. That should be super obvious, right? So if people have bad attitude or showing up late or not open-minded to training or change or whatever, you have to have a discussion with the whole team and say, this is who we have to be. Do we all agree with that? It's an agreement. You have to get them to agree to it. You can't just force agreements on people. But you got to get people to agree. Once they agree to it, and they have to agree, you can't force it. I'll say it again. But once they agree, then you can hold them accountable to that agreement. If you force it on them, you can't hold them accountable. But if they all, but
there's just a different type of dictatorship. It's
dictatorship.
you work for me,
yeah,
and that you'll do this, versus, hey, this is your second family. You spend more time here than you do at home sometimes.
Yeah.
And we want you to be happy, and we want to be a big, happy family. You can decide either way, but you probably are going to go burn through a lot of employees if it's, this is my way or the highway. We're all going to do this, and I don't really care about your opinion.
That's right.
Now opinions can be vetoed, but I think when, like you said, Michael, when you all agree together, then there is an integrity inside most people that are like, I said I would do it, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Versus you're going to do it. Okay, I'll do it. And then
that's where culture sucks. Like you're sitting around thinking that, wow, my culture sucks. My team treats this like a job. Well, that's doing it that way is why. If you include people and get them to agree to it and then hold them to that, then that's a much better way of communicating and coexisting with people. So just who we're going to be and how we're going to show up. That's like the foundation. So that's step one. Paula, once you get people to just agree on attitude and behaviors and open-mindedness and safety and communication and all that, just be good human beings. then the next layer of that is what do you do every day? What's your freaking job description? What do you contribute to the business? And you go through this exercise all the time. I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked still to this day on how bad it is in dental offices. Can you explain why I'm saying that? Because it's so bad and it's shocking to me how people just don't really know. And explain that, because obviously they pick up the phones, but like walk our audience through what I mean by that.
It's funny when we do the exercise, how much resistance we get to, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. So, for instance, we usually start with the front because it's the first and last touch for all patients. It's where the money goes in and out, the phone calls. So it really is, if the front of the house is out of order, it trickles back and then back up to the front. In patient experience and finances and in all kinds of ways, it rears its ugly head. So we start there because if it's not clean and we're not doing it correctly, it's just going to make a muck of the rest of the practice.
Mm-hmm.
So job descriptions, the reason we like to go through this is because we find two things. Everybody says they're all doing it. So number one, we're doubling down on something that one person could handle. Number two, what we really find out is there are things nobody's doing. And it's always funny when we say, okay, who handles sending out new patient forms? Oh, we all do it. Okay, well, how do you know how are we checking to see if it got sent out? Well, we just all know to check, so you never miss sending out new patient forms. Well, sometimes it happens. Okay, well, why does it happen if you have a system? Well, because someone forgot. Okay, then you don't have a system, or your system is failing you.
Which we're going to get to systems, but
that's what's great about a job description. It's like, here are all the jobs. Okay, here are all the jobs in the
or tasks, jobs. Yep.
Who is doing them? Who is accountable if it doesn't get done? So
that's my favorite.
Yes,
who's accountable?
So that's where we want to start. And when are you making the time to do it? Well, we don't have a time. Well, of course you don't have the time because you're not making the time. So if it's an important, sure, answering the phone, that's reactive. You got to answer the phone. Someone checking out, somewhat reactive, but we'll teach you how to be proactive. So there are things around that. Majority of it, you can plan and be intentional, proactive, have time management, and then things don't get missed. Nobody would want to get on a plane where it's like, okay, well, we both kind of do it, well, what happens if it gets missed? Well, the plane crashes, it's like, no, right? This is a business.
You got the co-pilot and the pilot saying, yeah, we kind of both fly the plane.
Yeah, we kind of go through the checklist and, it's every once in a while we miss something. No, it's, when is it being done? How is it being done? Who's doing it? Yeah. And is it done every day succinctly? So, job descriptions are not just what, but it's who and when.
Yes.
Okay. Out of that comes, like you just said, the systems, right? Because once we find out, okay, everybody's doing it, we narrow that down. We
Mhm.
get the win around it, so the time management around it, and who's accountable. We find out, but are they equipped to do it?
Okay, let's pause on that
Yep.
because okay, so just walking you guys through this. This is just leadership 101 stuff.
This is
But it
probably all we're getting to today is just the
well
person.
maybe, but it's hard to do this, but like you've got agreements of who you're going to be. Again, culture, be good human beings. Agreement. Then you've got a document or a set of or something written that says you are responsible for these things. She's responsible for these things. You guys all do it. But if insurance verification isn't done, she's accountable for it. If there's a hole in the schedule, you're accountable for it. Like it's very crystal, but everybody tries to help everybody else. But your ass is on the hot seat. So who we're gonna be, what you got to do, and now Paula's pivoting to, okay, maybe you're not capable of some of these things, or maybe there's a system broke to do the things you do. So you need all of this, guys. I just want to rewind. She's going to go to systems, but you need all of this that we're talking about. I'll say it again. You need all of it before you can start expecting different results, accountability. Without any of this, you can't say, dude, do your job better. Like that. Like, do your job better. Just, I need better from you. Well, they're just sitting here saying, what the fuck are you talking about? So Paula, tell us about systems. Sorry to interrupt you. I need everybody to understand that it's a 3-part process before you can hold accountability, which was what we're getting to. So now you've created these job descriptions and tasks, and everybody knows who they're accountable for. And then it sounds like you find that in that process, they don't even know how to do that job. Or maybe that job is not 100%. It's like 85% because the system's broke. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they don't have the time, which means the system's broke. If you don't have the time, you don't have a system.
Yeah.
Is basically it.
Yeah.
So the next thing is who's right for what job, and organically based on kind of what they tell us they're doing, we're gonna probably take some stuff off this person's plate, put it on this person's plate. It streamlines, there's some logical sense around it, which I'm not saying they're not logical. I'm just saying they're not even thinking about it. They just inherit it when they walk through the door.
And
like
a rebalance of workload or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're checking somebody in and you're required to audit the schedule, it probably makes sense that you are the ones that check on the confirmations too, because you just went through the schedule, see who needs what. If the patient has a balance, you're going to reach out, say, hey, before you come in, you have a balance. There are just some logical things. If you have enough people, it's nice if someone kind of handles hygiene and somebody kind of handles restorative as well, because they're kind of two different beasts. So that's I'm not going to get into systems as much as I am.
Yeah.
Why you need one.
Totally.
So part of that time management I talked about is part of the system. Like the first question is, have you ever done this, and do you know how to do it? Show us how you do it. And usually through that, we get, they're 80%, some of course 50, some 90, but they're usually 80%. But unfortunately, that 20% is what causes the biggest disruption.
Of course.
And of course, sometimes we get fought on it because because 80% of the time it works out okay. Why do we need to do this? Well, the 20% of the time costs the practice big money.
Big money.
It doesn't come out of their check, so they don't even know it half the time. When an insurance claim doesn't get paid, or we've got to refund a patient, or a patient refuses to pay a bill, it's usually because up front we didn't provide the full picture of what was owed, when was owed, and what can happen if it's not covered by the insurance. So now as a patient, I'm fighting that. Well, who has to eat it? The practice, the dentist.
And by the way, guys, we started this conversation talking about The guy with no gloves, no mask, smoking cigs, and just kind of meandering through this life that he's in. And the employee that she just described said, well, 80% is fine. Like,
Well,
what's your
he didn't even know at that point.
Well, of course he didn't know, but I'm saying the employees are treating it like he did. It's just kind of like, well, Paula, you're the consultant. You're telling me that this is a problem because I'm not getting that other 20% done. But the office functions, we do what we do all the time. It's fine.
We do $1 million.
We're fine. We do $1 million, Paula. But that's the funny thing is the doctors that are paying attention now, not like the other guy, Dr. Mick Smoke a lot. You know, the difference between him and maybe your ex-husband, Paula, Jerry, is he watched everything, or you guys together watched everything, and now there's accountability, now there's systems, and that 20% made you go from $1 million to 1.2 to 1.4 to 1.6 and on. It's that little 20%, because if you just meander, you're just going to sit at that like $1 million mark or wherever you're at. You're not going to see those gains, that growth. Just kind of,
and honestly, it'll get worse because it'll compound. You know, it'll compound, and more money ends up sitting on the table. I think people, when systems aren't in place and things aren't expected of them, they get worse over time.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah. So, okay, now we're agreements, job descriptions, systems. The last part of leadership, which is the tail end of this. And you know, we're doing a podcast in 30, 40 minutes. Like, you're not going to be able to do all this stuff masterfully, but we want to put this big concept in your head so you can start chewing on the pieces, because it takes years to master each one of these pieces probably. But the last part is accountability. And you know, guys, this is probably the most important part of all of it. So if all of that sounded exhausting, that was the easy part. That was the easy part. The exhausting part, the frustrating part, is when you spend the time, and Paul and I are owners, we can speak from experience. When you spend the time to break down each one of these all the way through systems, and then in the end, you find out that it really is a person problem. The accountability. Hey, we talked about it. We agreed to it. You're capable of doing it. There's systems in place. You're still not doing it. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. And it turns out they don't give a shit. And you got to move on from that person. But you can't move on from that person without all the other stuff.
We get all the time people calling us, this employee stinks, this employee won't do what I want. But did you set the agreements? Did you provide a job?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Did you? And then then the last piece is what you're about to get to, is the HR part of it.
Yeah, the documentation and all of the things. But there's a book that we presented a couple years ago, more than a couple of years ago, as The One Thing, and the one thing teaches you to just focus on the one thing to get big gains. But in that book, there's some pearls about patterns and creating change by pattern. And it takes, I think they said 66 days for to do something every day, 66 days. There's other stuff out there that says 30 days. Tony Robbins might say 33 days, whatever. But like, you guys that are probably listening aren't doing something every day like I'm talking about. Are you asking your front office, did you collect all the money? Did you collect all the money? Did you collect every single day? Or
here's the adjustment. What is this adjustment for? What, why? Well, you shouldn't even let them provide refunds, but what is this refund? Yes, 100%. Even the write-ups, Michael, like, it's, we talk about all the time, employees. Sorry if any employees are listening, because I'm comparing you to kids, but I'm not. But it's because it's not your business, right? So you're treating it differently. Even the most loyal employees, it's a job. But even like with the HR, you wake up one day and you realize your employee's been late like 5 times. Did you write them up? No. So even when it's as small as like they came in late, it's documenting, it's letting them know you're watching and you have expectations around it, and it's not okay. You understand, you care, you're invested. It's so many, when you do this, it sets a tone for so many things of like, you know, now Michael talked about accountability. Now you have something to hold him accountable to because you have a true story, not a feeling. It's not a feeling.
Everybody says, I feel. I'm so frustrated. I want to fire her. But that not someone that's coaching you is looking at you guys and saying, but you're not,
Well,
there's nothing there. It's all feeling. I get all the time, I'm broke. I'm the CFO, apparently of our clients. And I feel like I'm broke. I'm feeling and I get into it. I'm like, you're not broke. It's all right here. What are you doing with it? Well, here's the numbers. Here's what we could do better. And usually by the end of those calls, you feel empowered, and you know you're not broke. It's the same.
And what you need to do if you are a little lower than you would like, where am I at? So I know what to do.
It creates this system of leadership, creates a clarity, a crystal clear plan. If you think Nancy Joe's not getting the job done, and you've gone through all 3 things, agreements, job descriptions, systems, and at the end, Nancy Joe still sucks, it's an easy decision. That is super clear. But if it's a feeling and you don't have any of those other things in there, it's just a feeling, guys. It's just a feeling. So remember, we're working with, and this sounds terrible, and it actually is terrible. Like we talk about teachers deserving so much more money. Well, the dental industry needs more money too, but the poor dental assistants make about the same as a Wendy's worker.
But the poor dentist, the reimbursement's so bad, and it's a small.
I know. I'm not saying you guys should be paying more. I'm saying the industry deserves better in that way. But just remember, they could probably make the same at Wendy's. Just think about that, guys. One of our clients actually said that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're being dramatic. And I looked up Wendy's, and I was like, shit, it is Wendy's. And you work way harder as a dental assistant than you probably do flipping fries. And so just remember, like, they got to love where they work. They got to have systems. They got to have clarity. They want to be part of something. They want to have growth, all of that. And they may not have gotten the training. Just remember all of that. And if you can check all the boxes and pull it all the way through to accountability, and then you micromanage for 33 days or 66 days, you'll create patterns. And guess what? That's when the growth begins. Sometimes that takes 2 years, guys, to be honest with you, 1 to 2 years of that. And new owners, our clients that are new owners that hire us as consultants, and they want results in 3 months. And we're sitting here talking about all this. You can't accomplish this in 3 months.
Yeah.
So the younger owners just appreciate the fact that this is a body of work. You have to give some intentionality to it. And you have to actually care about fixing this part of it, of your business. You want to be able to call Henry Schein and say, you're screwing me, sell me stuff cheaper, result. Well, with people and employees, it doesn't work that way. It's a process and it's a body of work. And if you go through that, you'll get the gains. You'll have the culture. You'll have an amazing team, all the things. So, boy, I just went on a rampage there, but that kind of sums up what we were going for today, Paula.
Does it?
Well, yeah. I mean, anything that you wanted to add? I know there's a book that you love, and that kind of encapsulates this. So at the end of it, once you find out that there is an employee that has bad energy, that you might need to get rid of them. Is that sound? You want to share that book? You don't know the energy boss? Oh my gosh!
That's why
it's like your favorite.
You're like bad energy. I got it. I got what you're saying. Since it's, Yeah. I mean, you already gave it all away. You even said the name. So just say it.
Oh my gosh.
You literally just said the name.
I know. I thought you were spacing on it.
No,
So
no, I
she
was waiting on you to breathe so I could actually say it.
your pause was just too long. It looked like you
You
were
didn't
looking at me.
It's the energy bus. Anyone who's listening, it's the energy bus. It helps see if you got the right people on the team.
John Gordon's the author. It walks you through just this process of, look, you might just not have the right people on the bus. And I think it's a good read. So,
but I do think before you get there, I think, our team members would even say, like, whenever something's going wrong, bad, whatever you want to call it, I do always look within first. What can I provide? What support can I provide? What training can I provide? How can I help before I just automatically say, I want to fire someone or they're not the right person, because it is usually a lack of systems, a lack of understanding, a lack of expectations. And I think that the tighter those are with all the steps we just went through, like Michael said, if you give all that and at the end it's still not working, then it's probably just not the right person. But if you haven't given that, I think you owe it to yourself and to all of your team members to provide that.
Love it. Okay. Well, guys, as if it could just be done that easily. It can't be, but keep it real, guys out there. I don't typically sell or promote, but if you guys are looking for a good coach to walk you through some of this stuff, Next Level would love to have you. Reach out, schedule a call. The Michael and Paula you see in this show is exactly who you'd get on that call. And so just bring your problems. I sometimes feel like I'm a therapist more than a business coach, but that's part of it. And we'd be happy to help hold you accountable, give you some stability, some clarity so that you can take those tools and hopefully become a better leader, grow your business, have a better life in general. So reach out. We'd love to have you. So without further ado, yeah, exactly. Reach out. We'll be here. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks again for being part of the program. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Let us know how you like the show. Rate us on Apple and Spotify. Subscribe and follow for more.